Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be something that I don't think many people do, but as someone like me who you may have noticed is a person who hates to be wasteful, I really just want to use up all the makeup that I have. This goes for like food in my house, anything that I have, I want to use it till its full capacity. So I have a lot of makeup that I kind of touch with here and there, but I don't usually use all of it, so I kind of just wanted to group it all together and talk about it in a video so that it would motivate me to kind of finish it. As for finishing it by the end of the year, we only have really a month and a couple of days left, so I don't know if I'm going to finish all of this, but they are some stuff that I really need to get a move on and finish by 2019 at the very least. By the way, for my makeup today, I did film a video for Thanksgiving. That was my last video that I uploaded, so if you want to know how I got this look, then you can go ahead and watch that. So if you want to see what products that I am almost done with and want to finish by the end of this year or into next year, then please keep on watching. So there are a few products here that I want to get into really quickly. These are all products that you've seen me use a lot but haven't finished. But yeah, let's get into these products just to let you guys know what I'm working with. So I guess I'll start with setting sprays or primer sprays. This is a product that I actually said no longer works for me, but being that I don't want to be wasteful, I want to use all of it before I get rid of it and never buy it again. This is the Mario Badescu facial spray, and as you could see, it's like at the bare bones, so I think that I am going to finish this by the end of this year. I've actually been incorporating it a little bit more into my skincare routine. I don't really notice that it breaks me out or freaks out my skin a lot, so it has been kind of nice to keep on using this. It's kind of at that point where it's like cow spit, and it's like little drops everywhere on my face that I have to pat in, so it's been kind of annoying, and the perfume is really getting to me actually while I sit here and let it just air all over my face right now. It is kind of just like, ugh, I'm sick of it, but I don't want to be wasteful. Like all I have is this much left. Like it's really not that big of a problem for me to use it up at this point in time, so I'm just gonna keep it for now. But this is something that I hope and I think I will be able to finish by the end of this year. I'm praying because I just can't stand having it in my routine anymore. It's like, come on, let's get into different setting sprays, so I really need to get rid of this. Another setting spray that you guys don't really see me use that much, but I sometimes talk about, is the e.l.f. Illuminating Mist and Set. When I first bought this, I used it a lot as a setting spray, but I noticed that it made the makeup on my face separate, and it also caused my skin to feel really irritated. So instead, what I've been doing with this is that I've been using it as a setting spray to spray my brushes when I'm putting on like a pigment or a really shimmery shadow right on my lid. I didn't want to use any setting sprays to dampen my brush that I was using on my face because those ones I really like, so I decided instead to use this as something that I didn't like for my face, that I would just use it for putting on those pigments on my eyes. Now what that means is that I'm not spraying it as much on the brushes that I would be spraying it on my face, so even though this is such a small container, it's taken me a while to finish this. I think I had this in like my second year of college, but it's been a staple of mine. I kind of like it, but I also just kind of want to finish it because it really brings no use to me. As long as I have another setting spray in my caliber that I could use to spray my brushes with, it's not really that big of a deal. Hoping that I can finish it by the end of the year. We might be there because I'm doing a lot of glamorous looks for the rest of the year. I think I'll be able to do it, and I hope I am. Next, to talk about some foundations. You guys maybe have seen me use this. It was like definitely something I used a lot when I first started my channel. This is the Too Faced Born This Way foundation, and this is actually in the color Vanilla. I used this a lot as like my holy grail because it was like a full coverage foundation, and it dried down kind of matte but not completely matte. It was more of like a velvet texture to my skin, very similar to how the Matte and Poreless performs, just with a little bit more coverage. So I really loved this when I first like started using it, and now it's kind of at that point where it's, because it's a pump foundation, I can't really pump any more foundation out of it. It's not coming into the pump as much. Even to say that, I haven't really used it that often because it's a little bit too dark, and it's also not really my complexion. Kind of discovered that it was too orange on me, and because I was so new to makeup at the time when I started my channel, and it wasn't something that I really paid attention to and I didn't really notice, kind of realized like, this is really orange on me, even though it's not really that particularly dark, and I could get away with it in the summer months. It was too orange to the point where I looked like an Oompa Loompa. I hate that that's always like the go-to comparison, but you know what? it works and everybody can recognize that comparison, so we're just going to go with that. But anyway, I look like a pumpkin. Where was I going with this? Yeah, so this foundation is pretty much almost done. I'm scraping it off the sides and I'm just worried that I'm not going to be able to finish it by the end of the year. This is another thing that is like over a year old that I really need to get rid of and I need to finish because it's most definitely expired at this point. But I'm just kind of, you know, what do I use it for? So I don't know if I'm gonna finish this by the end of the year, but I really hope that I can find some sort of use for it and get rid of it by the end of this year or at least early into 2019. But I know for a fact I'm probably still going to be using this by the summer of next year, and then maybe I could get rid of it, maybe. Another foundation that I'll talk about really quickly, because once again I'm talking for an hour for each product, but this is the L'Oreal Paris Infallible Pro Glow foundation. I always forget the entire title of it, but this is foundation that I've been using on my channel for a while, and just in my day-to-day life I would use this every day when I was going to work in the early summer and even up until September. But then my tan started to fade away and I stopped using it, so I don't really think that this like matches me anymore. I don't know, I kind of moved on to different foundations and some of my more winter foundations, so I haven't really played with it to see if it still matches me. But it's one of those foundations that I have a love-hate relationship with. I love how glowy it is, but I also feel like it's a really weird undertone and it's a little bit too pink for me. This was another foundation that I kind of purchased thinking that it was my color, but it turned out to have a completely different undertone than I was familiar with. So I just used this because I was able to balance it out with my concealers and stuff like that to give it more of a yellow undertone, which is what my undertone is. You know, obviously my skin got a little bit lighter and it just wasn't cutting it anymore. It was almost too pink to the point that it made me look tan, even though it's such a light color. It's only 203, but it kind of just faded into the background and I stopped using it. So I only have a little bit left of this. It's like as light as a feather at this point. It really makes no sense for me to keep it around just for like 3 uses in the summer. So I'm gonna try to see if I could finish this by December, maybe use it on an off day that I'm just going to work. Another foundation that I don't think any of you have really seen me use is the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea foundation. Now I've used this like a couple of times on my channel, I want to say, but not really that often. It's one of those dropper foundations that is consistent with it being very watery. It doesn't really have a lot of coverage to it, and it's also pretty dark. This is in the shade Light Sand, and even you can see like comparisons like from the bottle to my face right now. It's like it's way too dark for me to be wearing right now. It's more of a summer shade, and I didn't really use it as much in the summer because I just don't like the coverage, and I also feel like it makes my skin look more textured than it is because of how lightweight it is. But at the same time, it's like I don't want to waste it, so I have to find some way to use it. So I don't know if this is going to be something that I'm going to finish by the end of this year, but like the other foundations that I was talking about, I could potentially finish it by the summer of next year. I'm hoping so because like my foundations are just so clogged up. Like as you could see, I'm like talking about 3 already and I have like 4 up on my vanity over here anyway. Like, so it's getting kind of irritating that I have something that I don't like that is kind of taking up space. So I hope that I could finish this soon. I'm not counting on doing it this year, but we'll see how it goes. Just to briefly talk about a concealer, this one is one that I actually used kind of midway into my channel when you saw me at school and stuff like that. This I used a lot. This is the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, and this is in the shade Vanilla. This one was very pink, and as you guys know, I have the yellow undertone. Did have that pink undertone, so I was able to put it kind of in my dark circles and get rid of all of the darkness. So I would use it a lot, but because I was using so little of it, it just lasted and lasted and lasted. I haven't really picked it up in a long time, and I know that it's expired at this point, but I just kind of feel guilty that I'm just like scraping the sides and not really using it as much. But this is something that I'm gonna have to kind of play around with. I think I could potentially do it if I actually use it religiously every day. Because of all the concealers that I have right now that are really full coverage, I don't really need to cover up my dark circles that much anymore. They're not as pronounced, so maybe I could go back to this and actually end up finishing by the end of the year. I'll see, I'm not really sure, but yeah, I'm just kind of over having this in my drawer. It's been way too long. Another concealer that's kind of dried out and I actually could consider it like a product empty because I don't think I could get much more use out of it is the NYX HD Lifting Concealer, and this is in the shade Green. Now I used this in a couple of videos to cover up my redness, but as I've kind of matured in my makeup adventures and I've also picked up more full coverage foundations, and I haven't really needed to color correct as much anymore. Plus I kind of have just embraced that my skin is kind of red underneath just in my everyday life. I'm trying to kind of realize that there's no such thing as bad skin and that my skin isn't particularly bad just because it has a lot of redness and that I don't need to cover it up. I don't really find much use out of using a green concealer anymore. Those days are kind of like few and far between, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this by the end of the year, but if not, I think I'm just gonna kind of toss this. This is one of those rare occasions where I'm like, okay, I can kind of throw this out because it's kind of dried up. It's not like I have a lot left, and it's pretty much expired at this point too, so I don't really feel as guilty about this one because I know that I did use it till its fullest extent. I would use it almost on a daily basis, which was kind of just aggravating to the skin and I probably shouldn't have done, but you know, I was going through a weird phase at the time where I just hated my redness because nobody else on the internet looked like me, so it's kind of nice to see more of my representation on there, and also like to let you guys know that it's okay that your skin is a little bit red. If you have rosacea, keratosis pilaris, anything, I could just throw it out and I could feel confident about throwing it out because I used it a lot. Two eyeshadow palettes that I'll talk about in conjunction with each other because they are like staples on my channel. The Modern Renaissance palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills and the Tarte's Pro Amazonian Clay palette. These two palettes have been on my channel forever and I've used them in a lot of tutorials. I even used this one for my first ever video. So these two palettes have been like ride or die for me, but I think I've kind of gotten to a point where you're occupying my makeup drawer you need to be done with. And especially I found with the Tarte's Pro palette, especially at the end of this year, is that the colors are kind of boring. I have a lot of other eyeshadow palettes that I've recently purchased that kind of mimic all the colors in here. I don't think I'll be able to finish it in regards to like going through all the pans and stuff like that because they're all pretty full. Even though this was like a staple for me and my entire YouTube career pretty much, I don't really find myself reaching for it as much, so I hope I could finish it, but I don't really know how to finish an eyeshadow palette. It's not something that I've ever actually completed. I've never finished an eyeshadow palette, but it might be something that I will have to toss by the end of this year and move on to bigger and better things. Even though I really like these shadows as opposed to a lot of people who seem to have a lot of problems with them. I am having an issue now though because my taste level has kind of like gone into a different direction now. You know, I kind of don't reach for it just because like I like other things better now. Kind of have a sentimental relationship with it, but at the same time it's like gotta get rid of it. So I may not be able to finish it, but I might actually toss it. Now as for the Modern Renaissance palette, I have actually hit pan on a couple of different shadows. This is just like one of those palettes where it's like an old relative. It's like, oh, you again, you know? I always go back to it for certain colors, and I do actually complete a lot of different looks with this, and it is one of those palettes where I don't really want to get rid of it for the sentimental reasons again, but I have to realize that that's very silly. It's a makeup palette, it's not really that important. This was just such a staple for like all fall colors, and I still find a lot of use out of it, especially for this time of year. There are a bunch of colors where it's like, okay, I can kind of see that a lot of other palettes kind of mimic you, especially with the Anastasia shadows because they replicate those shadows in like a bunch of their other palettes that they do in the future anyway. Maybe I'll depot some stuff just so I can use those more because those colors that I like a lot are very unique in my opinion, so I might actually keep this, but I hope that the ones that I've hit pan on I can actually get through by the end of the year. Kind of random because I don't think I've ever, or maybe like once or twice I've used this on my channel. This is the Smashbox bronzer in the shade Bronze Lights, and I've hit pan on it. It's one of those bronzers that is less well known, so I'm less prone to use it, which is kind of counterintuitive because the whole point of me having a YouTube channel is to promote products that maybe you guys don't know a lot about, and so that you would want to purchase them. But I think a lot of it has to do with that it's just so orange, like especially with my face right now, and for how pigmented it is too. I try not to use it too much because of how orange it is. Now, I've used a lot of orange bronzers, so it's not really that unique to me, so I don't know why I have like something against it. I think that it's just like, it's not my favorite, and even though it's really pigmented and it blends really well and I have no problems with it, it's just kind of less than spectacular as opposed to other bronzers that I have in my collection that are either really good for like bronzing and contouring, but this one is just kind of basic, and it sucks to say that, but it's just not something that I've used because of how less than exciting it is. So because I've hit pan on it though, I do want to kind of make a resolution right now to kind of keep using it till the end of the the year. So hopefully I'll get to finish this by the end of the year because it is a good bronzer, just not something that I always talk about. So watch me use it in like every tutorial now. This is random, but these two eyeliners I've had in my makeup drawer for way too long. This one a little bit less so, but this one I've had for literal years. This one, I don't even know what it is. It says NYC, so I don't know if it's NYC Colors or if it's like Maybelline New York or what it is. I don't know where I even got this. It was like this long, I'm not even kidding. It was one of those gimmicky things where like it's extra long pencil, and I remember seeing it and I was like a goth, so I was just like obsessed with having like a lot of black eyeliner, and especially one that was really pigmented. And so the advertising kind of really caught me, so I got this and I still have not finished it. And I think it's just because this guy came into my life. This is the Ulta Beauty blackout eyeliner, and I've just used this over and over and over again, and now they're both kind of at the same length, and even this one is a little bit shorter because I just like completely forgot about this one. So hopefully with doing this video I can use both of these at the same time and get them down to the nubs and then finally be able to toss them. These are just your basic two black eyeliners, and I actually think that this one is actually better than the Ulta one, so I don't know why I stopped using it, but I think that I'll be able to finish these by the end of the year, but I just have to kind of motivate myself to consistently do black eyeliner, which is always like a bitch to take off at the end of the day. And then I think I'll finish these. This especially because I know that this one is probably expired. No, it definitely is expired. Hopefully I can finish this one, and when I finish that one, hopefully that means that this one is on its way out too. This will motivate me to finish off that one for the end of the year, which I think will be possible. Another thing that has to forcibly be done by the end of the year is the Bobbi Brown eye opening mascara. This one I actually tried last year at Christmas, and I tried it out and I said that I didn't really like it, so it's kind of just been sitting in my drawer for an entire year, which I know is probably gross to a lot of you because it's supposed to get rid of your mascara every 3 months. I just haven't been motivated to use it because I have so many other great mascaras in my drawer. I continue to buy and forget that I have this in there. It's just so big and chunky, and I just like hate it. I just hate the wand. I hate everything about it. I didn't give it like the worst review in the world when I first tried it out, but over time I've just been like, this does nothing. It doesn't lengthen, it doesn't volumize, it just makes your lashes really, really black. It's like a lash tint in a way. It's another one of those things where it's like, I could probably just prop this on for work, so it might actually be good to keep on using this in whatever capacity I can, but at the end of the year, I'm definitely gonna have to get rid of this because it's a year old. That just means that it's got a lot of gunk and bad stuff in it, bacteria that I shouldn't be keeping around, and I should have gotten rid of after 3 months of having it, but you know, not exactly the person that y'all should be copying when it comes to these types of things. So with that being said, hopefully I could finish this by the end of the year before I inevitably have to toss it. Last but not least, this is the NYX lip liner, and this is in the shade Natural, and it kind of is like a mauve-y nude. I've used it in like a lot of my tutorials, which is crazy to think about because I haven't finished it yet, and it's crazy to think about because with a lot of the products that I've talked about, probably all of them, I've been saying how I use it from time to time. I don't really use it a lot. I used it a lot before, but then I stopped. But this one I use consistently, almost on a daily basis, and it's still like, there's a lot of it left. I really love this lip liner, but it's also one of those lip liners that I think is a nude maybe for people who are a little bit deeper than me, because I kind of noticed that it still makes my lips a little bit darker than they are naturally, as opposed to like a stark nude. So I kind of just want to get rid of this for the sole purpose of being able to go out and get some different ones from NYX because they are my favorite lip liners. Hope that I'm able to finish this by the end of the year, but I'm not 100% sure because I've used it for like almost a year and a half straight and I still haven't finished it. So not that I have a problem with it lasting a little bit longer because I do enjoy it a lot, but yeah, that's just my whole thing with this one. You think you guys hate me talking for 27 minutes straight? Think about just sitting here and talking for an hour straight and then having to edit it, listen to me ramble, and have to edit it down to that 27-minute video you're watching. With that being said, this video is over. I finished all these products, not physically but theoretically in this video. I hope that I am able to finish these products by the end of the year. It's taken too damn long for me to use these up. I don't know how other makeup influencers do it that get sent a ton of PR all the time because it's just so impossible possible to use out makeup. There's only so much that you can do. So yeah, already I'm overwhelmed. So, but yeah, that is the end of this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for my next ones, whatever they may be, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.